Hey there, how's it going, old buddy, old pal? I welcome you back with open arms for another great video for you today, and this one's gonna be a doozy. So today's topic is something that we don't, and still won't, talk about too often on this channel, and that thing is politics. Run, everybody run! Or more specifically, a politician who does politics. Obviously. I mean, there's not much else a politician does. It's at least top 3 on the list. It goes like cheating on your wife, sit in a big room, have a bunch of
sensual bath salt
allegations, do a bunch of blow, and then politics. See, it's at least in the top 5. That's still pretty good. But the man of the hour today, or like the man of 10 minutes, however long this video is, likes to do at least one more thing that's more important even on the list than doing blow. Now I know what you're thinking. What could possibly be more important than doing coke? I'm addicted to drugs, Tristan. I sold my dad's boat rudder for some crack. You're a big fat son of a bitch and I'm gonna kill you in your fucking sleep. And to that I say, well, first, chill the fuck out. And second, I guess I'll tell you what he loves more than that. It's fighting. Karate chopping, hip tossing, throat punching, head punting, dick sucking, butt touching fighting. Now, a lot of you probably don't know this, as I look like I have a dad bod if the dad ate nothing but cheeseburgers and milkshakes for 30 years, but I do have a little bit of fight knowledge. From when I was 13 to 16, I was very active at an MMA gym in my hometown, and frequently watched MMA, boxing, lethwei, Muay Thai, kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, judo, grappling, you know, all the cool stuff. I watched all those matches. And at the time, I would also just research like random trivia about martial arts. And even after I mostly stopped, I still like studied it a little bit over the years, at least as much as someone can from way over in the sidelines. Sometimes I'll just get into that like random Wikipedia wormhole, just looking up at 3 in the morning, like, are there any martial arts native to Canada? Which is a real thing that I Googled like a month ago. But anyway, all this is kinda sorta relevant to what we're talking about today because the person that we're talking about today seems to be all about fighting. That's right, today we're going to be discussing 5-0 amateur mixed martial arts fighter turned senator, Marquain Monkey Brain Mullen, a Republican, senator from Oklahoma. Now before we get real deep into this absolute buffoon,
I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon?
I do want to preface that this video is going to be less about his politics and more about something that he did recently. I just don't want this video to be bogged down by the depressing bullshit that is the American US politics system. I personally am a very left-leaning socialist who disagrees with like pretty much everything that this dude says. But I'm just going to leave it at that because you didn't come here to be preached at. You came for the funnies. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to be funny. We all good on that? Alright, let's continue. So to give a little bit of backstory, Marquain Mullen is not only a senator, but he's also a property and business owner and investor. Shocker, which I promise is relevant and you'll see why later. So from what I read, Marky Mark here owns at least 4 different businesses, the first of which he inherited from his dad at 20 years old in 1997. This business was called Mullen Plumbing and was very successful. He even sold it to a residential services conglomerate in 2021. This successful venture, again given to him by his dad, in turn made Marky expand into other business territories, which include Mullen Services, Mullen Properties, Mullen Farms, Mullen Environmental Inc., as well as just investments and several others. But those other businesses aren't the ones you need to know about for this video. I just wanted to point out that the senator, this elected public official, who is supposed to have the citizens' best interests at heart, does have a lot of corporate ties. Do with that what you will. Anyways, even though he did sell Mullen Plumbing, he still takes a leadership role in the company and has control over certain aspects, such as pay rates. I know that this information is boring, but I promise it's relevant. Please stay with me. Stay with me. And apparently, our main man Marky here doesn't really like to pay his employees a livable wage. And according to a former employee review on Indeed, one of their service technicians was paid $12.50 an hour less than was initially agreed, and you're required to be on call. They also use what is described as a ticket time system, which is apparently not like a typical payroll system. I couldn't really figure out what the differences were, but I just figured I'd mention it in case anybody in the comments knew or something. But I bring all this to your attention to tell you about this extraordinary event in American politics that happened a few months ago, and an event that Mark just keeps making worse. So back in March of 2023, during a Senate committee hearing, Mullen accused Sean O'Brien, who is a Teamsters representative for the union, of intimidation and said that O'Brien had attempted to unionize Mullen Plumbing in 2009.
And back in 2009, you guys try to unionize me.
Even though they had better pay and better benefits than a union job.
My guys were making money. They were getting paid more than the union halls were paying their plumbers. Our benefits were better.
Which I can't verify, but I sincerely doubt. In that same hearing, Mullen also said,
I kept my salary down at about $50,000 a year.
Which has been debunked several times. He also said that he started with less than nothing.
Started with nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, I started below nothing.
Which, again, his dad gave him this business, so That's not nothing. This guy just isn't exactly great with the truth. Something I also want to highlight from this, when Mullen begins his big anti-union speech, he starts it with talking about how the union would show up at his house and like post up against his company trucks.
They would show up at my house. They'd be leaning up against my trucks.
And then follows that up with,
I'm not afraid of a physical confrontation. In fact, sometimes I look forward to it. That's not my problem.
which is just a weird thing to say. It's basically him going like, these people showed up at my house to gain sympathy, but then immediately going, but I'm not scared though, I'll fight you. I'm not scared of nothing, I'll fight you real good.
I'm shaking in my custom baby seal leather boots.
It's just really weird and something that I noticed. Anyway, let's continue. During this meeting when talking about unions, O'Brien and Mullen got into a little bit of a verbal tussle. Just a little bit of a tiff in it then. Blimey, governor, it's Tuesday. Fancy a ciggy and a chat? You guys want to hear my Asian impression? But anyways, back to the topic. This Senate hearing basically started with Mullen just spitting out like outrageous claims that can't even be verified, as well as just straight up misinformation. And every time O'Brien tries to respond, Mullen just keeps cutting him off and interrupting and is like not letting him talk at all.
And what do you make, Mr. O'Brien?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah, I know
Senator.
what you make, because in 20 pay raises since then,
Yeah, when I was a
and the
ranking-
average UPS $35,000 a year.
That's
and what
inac-
do you bring?
No,
to
I
the
know him
position?
because I negotiate the
So
contract.
I say one, you're forcing them to pay dues. And
No,
then-
we don't force
Hold
them.
on.
Senator, you've asked the
You're out of
question.
line,
Let him
man.
answer
Actually,
the
I haven't,
question.
and no, don't tell me I'm out
You
of
are
line.
in line.
Don't tell me I'm out of line.
Well, you framed,
don't tell me I'm.
And then Bernie Sanders, my boy, Bernie Sanders, has to step in and mediate like the boss babe that he is. So in short, it basically just ended with Mullen getting angry about unions and at the union leaders and just saying that unions, all they do is just try to like strong arm businesses into joining and force people to pay dues. And when O'Brien told him that he was out of line, Mullen told him to shut his mouth.
The
You
statement
need to
was
shut
tough,
your
guy.
mouth.
Yeah.
Because
And then when O'Brien said the factual statement of we hold greedy CEOs like you accountable,
We create opportunity because we
Sir, that's-
hold
that's
we
not-
hold greedy CEOs
That's
like yourself
not-
accountable.
Mullen said the thing that I mentioned earlier about making $50,000 a year, which, like I said, is just straight up incorrect. Really, throughout this entire exchange, O'Brien just made Mark look like an absolute fool. A measly jester dancing fervently for the king's amusement. And now this is where the fun begins. So then we get to June 2023, and after a few tweets back and forth between the two, Mullen actually responds to one of O'Brien's tweets and challenges him to a charity MMA match, but nothing ever gets set up. It's never talked about again, and they both go radio silent on both ends. So fast forward to November of 2023, and another Senate hearing committee takes place, and Bernie, Mullen, and O'Brien are all there. It's the showdown of a lifetime. Mullen again tries to paint this picture that he's some grassroots everyman who built his business from the ground up.
Sir, I wish you was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company. Myself and my wife was running the office, because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours.
And I don't want to discredit him. I mean, he did turn his business into a profit. I will give him that. But you also just can't pretend you didn't inherit a business from daddy. It was given to you, and you just increased that profitability with loans that you didn't have to pay back and people that work for you and the people on your team. A lot of business owners and CEOs forget that the people who actually work for them and do the dirty work are the ones that are making them money. It's just annoying that he keeps doing that, and I want to get the smell of bullshit out of the room. Pay you. And then after that, he reads a tweet from O'Brien to Mullen.
Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy.
Just takes that dial and cranks that bitch up to 10.
Sir, this is a time, this is a place.
And then he proceeds to rip that knob off, jam a screwdriver in there, and crank that bitch up to 26.
We'll stand your butt up then.
You stand your up on him.
Oh, hold on.
Big
Oh,
guy.
Let's go! He's taking off the fucking ring! Let's go!
sit down. You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit active.
Oh, dang. I wanted to see some bows getting thrown. Obviously, I'm kidding. Kind of. And this is some real lunacy going on. Obviously, you can't actually have a senator taking his ring off and uppercutting citizens in the Capitol building. It's just like barbaric behavior, and my brother, my comrade Bernie, was right in telling Mark Wayne Mullen to just sit his ass down. Just for the hell of it, let's see a little bit more. I just want to see kind of how this goes. There's something specific that I want to show you and point out.
This is
Hold
what he
it.
said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing. And God knows the American people have enough contempt Congress. Let's not
I don't
make
like
it worse.
God, I love this man. What Bernie just said is actually a really big reason why I have a lot of respect for him. He actually understands that the general public is just tired of everything Congress is always doing all the time, and he's actually trying to get people to sit down and get to some real solutions, otherwise known as doing their fucking jobs. And all these two just want to do is like bicker back and forth, and one of them wants to have a brawl right there in the room. So after all this gets out there and the internet gets a hold of it, and it's going gangbusters on the internet, and Mullen keeps trying to defend himself, trying to deny any blame and bounce it all back on the other guy, who definitely he did contribute to this. The union is supposed to be all about accountability, so obviously I'll hold him accountable for his actions and his contribution to this. Mullen is definitely a greedy, slummy, hot-headed, dishonest piece of shit, but O'Brien did challenge him first and kept this going. Is it kind of funny that he got this public official so riled up that he wanted to throw down? Throw down? Yeah, absolutely. But it's a Senate hearing. They're there to make decisions that affect the entire community, that are supposed to benefit the general public. You're all public officials. Act like it. But Mullen had to get off one last hurrah in one of the dumbest, funniest things I've ever read in a headline. So to cap off this video, I just want to talk about this one last thing. Senator wants to make Americans fight again. Alright, starting off fantastic there. The first thing I thought of when I stood up, I thought, I'm gonna break my hand on this guy's face. I'm gonna take my wedding ring off, Mullen said. Great, that's awesome. Bash, who's the interviewer, asked Mullen how he expects his 6 children to view all of this, to which he argued, you're responsible for your words. I'm not somebody that's gonna say we go around and fight all the time. I got paid to fight, he said, which I don't know if that's true. I'm pretty sure he only fought amateur, and it's very rare that amateur fighters get paid, but that's not the point. But I will say that every now and then you do, and you should be taught a lesson. Mullen pointed to the bloody U.S. history to justify the threat of violence today, noting the many duels of President Andrew Jackson. Bash noted accurately that Jackson was not a good guy. Oh really, the guy who made the Trail of Tears, which forced 100,000 natives out of their home and killed like 10,000? The guy who owned 300 slaves in his lifetime and regularly killed people in duels isn't a good guy? Who'd have thunk it? It doesn't matter, said Mullen, reaching for another president. Just Mullen said that Abraham Lincoln challenged a guy to a sword fight, which isn't true, by the way. Apparently Lincoln was just challenged to a duel and then they both backed out at the last minute, and Lincoln had said that he regretted the entire event. Mullen also noted that there was once a caning in the Senate, which is true. Senator Charles Sumner, who opposed slavery, insulted pro-slavery opponents who wanted to see Kansas enter the Union as a slave state. Representative Preston Brooks, without warning, entered the Senate and beat Sumner nearly to death with a metal topped cane. God damn, that's fucking insane. What the fuck? This dude's trying to justify his dumbass behavior by comparing it to a pro-slavery guy beating the shit out of an anti-slavery guy for being anti-slavery, as if that somehow makes it better. This dude is a fucking lunatic. My God. This guy is a senator. Let that sink in for a minute. This guy is a fucking senator. This guy has power. My God, we are so fucked. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. I'm sorry that this one was kind of grim if you think about like the state that our country has been in for the last forever. But hopefully you got a chuckle out of some of the ridiculousness we saw here today. And don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, comment, whatever you have to do. And as I always say, that's going to be it for today, fellas and ladies. I hope I made you laugh. I hope I made you smile. And I will see you when I do this again. Bye.